Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. This is Nicole and Kelly from The Living Well. We decided to hold a quick celebration in honor of our 10,000 followers. We're so excited. Thank you guys. And to say thank you, we want to do a quick video on what life looks like outside of narcissism. And all of us are survivors of narcissistic abuse and childhood trauma for the most part. And we wanted to give you some insight on what you can expect after narcissistic abuse so that you can give you a little bit of courage to help you to see that there's life after this, that it is going to get better, that you can do it because we have, and we are no better or different than you, come from all different walks of life, backgrounds, and circumstances. So if we can do it, so can you. And hopefully you'll glean something out of this quick video to help yourself after see the future and the light at the end of the tunnel. So today I have with me, obviously, Kelly Craig, my trusty sidekick. Thank you. Really love this girl. Carrie, how do you pronounce your last name?
Nau.
Nah, welcome. I knew Carrie, just didn't know how to pronounce that last name. Thank you for being here. And we have Angela Pinney.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Thank you, guys. So the first question, so basically what we're going to do is answer some questions about life after narcissistic abuse. And Carrie is going to talk about a defining moment, or what was a defining moment of clarity for you that really made solidified the fact that you made a good decision walking away from your narcissist.
You know, really learning that what I was in love with and what I had hoped for in our future together, and the hope for change and all of that, that for one, understanding that I was living in and believing in an illusion. And so discovering that and gaining the clarity that I gained after getting out of that relationship, learning what the manipulation was all about and the control and like the future faking and all of the false narratives that I had fallen into believing and was deceived by, discovering that all of the dynamics that were involved in that, and learning that all that I believed in and had hoped for was never going to come to fruition, and it was never going to change. And so after gaining all that clarity and understanding, the most important thing for me in understanding was that this was all an illusion. And so I had to grieve this illusion that I had held on to for so long, because that's all it was. It wasn't real. It wasn't what I thought it was and what I believed it to be, despite, whatever attempts he made at trying to convince me that it was something different. At the end of the day, it wasn't. And the truth was the truth, all of these things that were never going to change, and his behavioral patterns and the destructive belief system that the distorted mind thinks is just that, and coming to acceptance of that. And so that was just huge for me, and being able to finally grieve and then start healing from that.
How did you know for sure that this was an illusion? Like, what made you, how did you come to that realization?
That's a really good question. I think it was just learning the patterns of the behavior and understanding that was what always was. And every time I thought something was going to be different, or if it was different, it was always short-lived. And so understanding that this was the same pattern repeating itself over and over again, and that there was no coming out of that.
Yeah.
Like the only way to break it was for me to remove myself from it.
Right. So he was making promises that just didn't ever come to fruition.
Yeah. And he could never sustain any type of behavioral change long term. So like any behavioral change that was made was always short-lived, and it was in a form of just continuing trying to manipulate and have control. And so once I learned that, okay, this is the motive, this is the intention, even though the behavioral change existed for a period of time, it was only intended for that manipulative purpose. It wasn't actually a true, genuine intention of things actually changing long term.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. So for me, I guess I'll go ahead and answer the next question. What was the deal breaker that broke the camel's back in my situation? Oh God, which one? First of all, that's the first flipping question. But I think if we can meditate on the reality, like Carrie was saying, they say one thing, but their actions say another. That's how you know you're being lied to, because their words don't match their actions. And in my case, some of the things that went on, for me, growing up in a household where I had narcissistic parents, I didn't feel like I was really loved or valued or validated or heard, or my feelings didn't matter. So it was really important to me that I ended up with someone, if I was going to be in a marital relationship or give my whole soul and heart to somebody, that person had to really legitimately care about me for me to feel safe and comfortable doing that. And when I ended up with someone who I didn't believe really loved me, because if they don't care about your feelings, they do things they know that hurt you, and you tell them and they keep doing things that hurt you, then they prove to you they really don't care about your feelings. And if they don't care about your feelings, then I felt like, well, then you don't care about me. And if you don't care about me, then why am I married to you? So, but my ex did some really mean things, like tell me I was not a part of the will, or if I died, I didn't care what happened to you, or just doing things that he knew I would hate, or not listening to my feelings or my opinions or my desires, but putting me last consistently, or throwing fits when I didn't give him his way, even though I wasn't comfortable. Like I have sleeping issues, and he would throw fits if I didn't sleep in the same room as him. Just things just ways that you would naturally show compassion to somebody else. He just wouldn't do those things for me. And I just realized I'm not going to invest a lot of time in a situation with somebody that I know is abusive, doesn't really care about me or my feelings. I know this isn't going to get better. Education is powerful. Once you know what you're dealing with, you have no choice but to deal with it and accept it. And so that was the breaking point for me. I didn't invest a ton of time trying to fix something I knew was unfixable. I have to accept people for who they are, where they are, respect that. And if I have to walk away to preserve my own sanity, then that's just so be it. How about the next question? How about Kelly? So we all know after we walk away from a narcissist that they're not just going to easily disappear, unfortunately. So a lot of the times what they do is they hoover and come back, and they promise they're going to be different and swear. And like you were saying before we started recording, your ex would send you flowers, even though he never sent you flowers your whole marriage. You want to talk a little bit about the hoover and how did you resist giving in? Because it's not easy, is it?
No, it's not easy. I always thought that marriage is a sacred thing too, right? So it took me a very long time to actually leave, but things were bad enough that I knew I had to leave. And after I left, though, it was the thoughts of, did I do the right thing? Am I ruining a marriage? Am I throwing this away? And of course he wanted to come back. So even though I didn't live with him, I let him come back into my life for about 2 years. And, I got the promises of I'll change or whatever it was. And he wanted to do everything that I was doing. I was growing and I was healing. And so he wanted to be a part of all of that. But he didn't mean it. And it wasn't him. And he didn't do it before. So I resented it. And it just made me push away more and more and live in resentment towards him when he was in my space. So he only came over when it was convenient for him, like weekends, and so I have some time. So now I'll go see Kelly. And it was like, that's not how that should work. You should be there all the time, right? If you're going to be there. And then the flowers at work and things like that I never got, where I didn't want them. And people would look at me like, what's the matter with you? Aren't you appreciative? And it was like everything he tried to do made me resent him and not like him even more, because I knew it wasn't real and it wasn't him, because he never did those things while we were married. So now why are you doing them? Because you're not getting what you want, which is the old me that was there before is not the same me I am now. I've changed. And he would argue that point. You haven't changed. You're still the same. And it's like, no, I'm not. And I don't want to be that person anymore, And he just wouldn't even let me have that. And so it got to the point where even if we were out in public, I would snap at him. And he could be being nice and people would not understand. And I looked like the bad guy. But it was just so much pent up frustration and that I finally stood in my kitchen one day and I said, you need to leave and you need to get out now and you need to never come back, because I was turning into somebody I didn't want to be. And so I had to go no contact. And to this day, it's been 13 years. I still get texts every now and then saying, I miss you. I need a hug, and I can't pay any mind to it. So, because it's a sickness. And if I give him 1 inch, he's going to take a mile. He's going to think, oh, she still loves me. And, so you can't even. So once it's no contact, there's no going back. It's sad, but it's better for us to do it that way. So as hard as it is, I totally recommend it.
Yeah, because if it's not real, then what's the point, right? It's just an act they put on so that we'll give in something that they want. So it's still all about them.
Yep.
It's not even like he's motivated or they're motivated by their love for you. They're losing something they want. So therefore they're motivated to put on this show to prove to you they're going to be different just long enough to get you back in the door so they can go right back to the way they were before.
Yep.
And that's just more abuse and more. And so what happened? You took him back for 2 years. Did it get better? You gave him his chance.
Yeah.
How did that go for you?
It didn't get any better. He was so immersed in his own self that there was no room for anything else. He had an injury on his foot and it was all consuming my foot, to the point where he drove pretty much everybody out of his life over it. And, it was just pity potty me. And who wants to be around that, as much as you love somebody, either get over it or do something about it. And he just was so consumed. It was such a turn off to even try and reconcile anything. There was nothing to reconcile. And I think it was the fact, I got to the point where he never stood up for me. And then I walked away and he let me go. And so that proved to me right there that I wasn't worth enough to him. And so that was where I think the real resentment came in. I gave you my heart, my soul. My children moved in. We were a family. And yet, it was easy enough for me to walk away and you didn't fight. You didn't fight for me. And so that was it for me. I was done. Enough was enough.
Thank you for sharing, Kelly.
Sure.
So you gave him a chance, it didn't work out. How about you, Ginger? I know you were talking about you had to leave your husband. You guys got a divorce. How did it go for him after that? You guys have been divorced now for how long, and has it gotten any better?
As we've been divorced for 5 years, and no, he hasn't gotten any better. Um, when we were first divorced, I didn't know he was a narcissist. And so we were, friends for a while, but what I wanted was the money that he owed me, in our divorce. And so I was trying to be friendly towards him. And so then he ghosted me for a year and a half. And I found out that he was engaged to somebody. And I remember I healed enough to where it didn't, upset me too much that he was engaged. But I did think, and I kept thinking, again, not knowing that he was a narcissist, I went, wow, he's going to be really good to this girl. She deserves him. Like, uh, she's worthy of his love, and things like that. So I thought that for a while. And then one day he calls me after a year and a half and wants to talk. And I'm like, why is he talking to me now? So he said to me he didn't realize what he had, this kind of stuff. And I'm like, wait, aren't you engaged? And he goes, yeah, but I don't want to marry her, you know. And so later I agreed to hang out with him just because I wanted to forgive him and everything and just see. And all he could do was complain about his fiance. And then later he told me that that it was over between them. I looked on his Facebook and hers and I said, no, it still says you're engaged, you know. Found out that he was originally living off her. I didn't know that. He was living off her and she was getting checks from her ex-husband, alimony. And so he was getting those checks. She finally stood up and said, you need to start working. So he moved 2 hours away at least from her to work, near me. And he did tell me, oh yeah, I'm working 2 jobs and I'm sending her the money. So again, it hurt. I'm like, wow, thank you. You wouldn't even help me pay the bills, you know? But then all of a sudden he tells me he's interested in a coworker of his. And I still see now, I haven't spoken to him. We had a falling out and I finally realized he was a narcissist, so I haven't said anything to him. But I looked online, they're still engaged. It looks like she took down the engagement and put it back up, so I know they must be having some problems. But he's not any better.
So you went through what you had to go through, got a divorce, and then even after 5 years of not being with him, you see that he's not doing any better than he was when he was with you, which means if you were still married to him, he'd still be treating you the way he's treating her. And you
Yep.
see he's still playing all the games that he's playing with you and her. Nothing's changed. And so you would have been sacrificed and your mental health would have been sacrificed for nothing. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you for sharing, Ginger. And Angela, so you were also with a narcissist, right? And you had to leave. So what techniques and tools, what healing modalities did you use to help yourself repair your life after walking away from a narcissist? And how's that going for you?
Well, it definitely took me a couple of months to get focused on my recovery. Trying to escape the financial disparity and, all of the trauma that goes along with it. But I think the first important thing that I did was educate myself. So I spent a lot of time online listening to other coaches speak about their experiences. So I probably spent almost a year doing that. And then, during that time, I was realizing that I needed to start doing meditations to relax myself. And then I started looking into self-love affirmations to help rebuild my self-esteem, because not only had it been shot down from the narcissistic romantic relationship, but it had never fully grown to where it should have been because of my narcissistic parents, who, I became the silent child because of their abuse. So it took me, several months to really get on a roll. But I put practices in place. I try to spend 5 to 10 minutes a day, most days, listening to self-love affirmations. And then about maybe 2 to 3 times a week, I was taking Epsom salt baths, listening to relaxation music or meditative music. And so, I finally started hiking again. So I'm getting outside, making sure that I have a proper sleep schedule. I was able to heal myself from insomnia after the narcissist, which I had for 15 years. So it's been a pretty incredible journey. And I'm really grateful. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it because I'm in a place now that I never thought I would be. I'm taking care of myself in more ways than I have ever done in the past.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. That's so wonderful. So why don't we talk a little bit, ladies, about life, physically outside of narcissistic abuse? And what are some of the things that we're involved in?
But yeah, we can all smile now. We can all laugh now. And I don't know how much we were laughing and smiling when we're in our relationships, especially towards the end of them.
And we could also laugh at our narcissist as opposed to going, they hurt me.
Yeah. And that it's, we can talk about things and joke about them instead of being all sad and whatever anymore.
Yeah, like when you're with a narcissist, your whole life is revolving around him or her and the drama of him or her and what are they doing and when are they going to do it next and how to keep them happy. And our whole life is consumed. Even our mental space is all consumed. Even after they're gone, we're obsessing about them. But after narcissistic abuse, it's like I tell my clients, can you imagine what can you do with that brain space when he's not taking control of every breath and every thought you have is under his captivity? You're basically enslaved to him and his wants and his desires. So now you have freedom to do and be and live however you feel like living. So if you want to eat ding dongs for dinner and watch Good Times, which I don't.
Sure.
You can, right? You can have a measure of peace, even though we live in a very difficult time and life is still hard. Because of course, it's not all rosy outside of a narcissistic, but at least you have the peace in knowing that your house is your safety place, that you can sleep soundly, that no one is harassing you or abusing you or assaulting you or hurting you. And you have escape from the drama long enough to breathe. That's why we go mad, because we are in constant turmoil 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with a narcissist. And at least you have time to recover in between dramatic episodes long enough. It's like a tornado lives in your house when you're with a narcissist. So life outside of a narcissistic relationship is warm and cozy, and you got to do it because your mental health matters. You matter. Your feelings matter. Your life matters. And here, I can newsflash, I've been promoting this a lot. You don't have to be with a man to be happy. Woo! There's a thought. It turns out you can have friends. People are into the arts. They travel. They eat good food. They worship God. They go to church. They have real relationships where it's reciprocal and healthy and give and take, and there's respect in a relationship. All of that can be yours if the price is right. Right, Ginger, you've been doing a lot of trainings and learning new healthy habits so that you can have a different reality going forward. And even though everything hasn't been perfect for you, you've learned so much and you've changed your life in so many ways, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff you've learned just by investing in yourself and hiring coaches?
Yeah.
How's that worked
Yeah.
out for you?
It's worked out so well. Like, when I had counseling, I guess for some reason they can't always tell us that we're with narcissists or that we're being abused, so I didn't have any clue. So I hired a coach for relationships and dating. And I didn't really care about the relationships and dating. I cared about more that she was talking about self-esteem and self-worth. I knew I didn't have that. So she taught me that. And I actually had to write down a list of, all these good qualities about me. And I've never done that. And it's amazing how many people haven't. And so all I would do every day was concentrate on my flaws. That's all I would do. And you're going to attract toxic people if you think that way about yourself. People can see how you feel about yourself, So I did that. And then I also learned meditation, which helps a lot, sitting there and, clearing your mind and breathing. And, it really helps. I mean, like I used to have a lot of anxiety. I don't have a lot of it now, like hardly any. And also just coming to the realization that, I am a good person and no one deserves what any of us have gone through. I blame myself constantly saying I deserved what happened to me and found out, no, that's not true. You know, and doing this
Excellent.
work, I also learned how to kind of stop that kind of thing from happening to me again, help it at least. You know what I mean? So
Awesome.
that's
Excellent. Good for
Proud of
you.
you, girl. That's just a
Thank
lot
you.
of work. And to be able to say, you know what, I'm not flawed and I'm
Mhm.
not what other people told me I was, right? It's huge. So good job.
Yeah. I could look at somebody now, and if they put me down, I could go, no, you're wrong. And in the past I would just look down and go, you're right. So
Yeah, because
I
you've
love
learned
this
your true,
difference.
yeah, you've learned your true value, the truth about yourself. And the truth is you are worthy. You know that a lot of the things that we're taught about ourselves are just our parents' projections or their insecurities or their trauma showing up in how they treat their own kids. And then we absorb that as the reality about ourselves. And then we walk around with these wounds that we don't really understand that show up in the real world. But now as an adult, you can turn around and you can make some shifts and learn the habits or the truth about yourself so that you stop thinking these lies that are actually hindering you from getting what you really want out of situations. Good for you. That's
Thank you.
excellent. How about you, Kelly? How has your life been affected since then? How's it going for you?
Wow. That's a long journey, but I can tell you that one of the things that's come up even tonight and in other discussions that we've been having with the support group is that feeling of walking through the door into a home where you're not really wanted or comfortable or in just, I'll never forget that feeling. But even better is the feeling that you get when you walk into your own place, knowing that that doesn't exist anymore and that it's whatever you make of it in your own home. And that is just like the best feeling. It was what helped me to start my healing journey. So when I left, I was very broken. I was working in a mailroom. I had two children that were 13 and 11. And I had great credit and whatever when I left, but then I needed things, and that the economy part of it was very tough. Being a single parent, not making that much money, so you're using your credit, needed a new car, so the bills start piling up. Then it got to the point I didn't know how I was going to feed my kids, and somehow it always worked out, right? Through faith, I found faith, and faith really is the key to surviving and being happy and moving forward. I was able to start my self-healing journey of going from negative to positive in my own thinking about myself, and go from broken to being more positive. I went back to college at 39 years old, working a full-time job with a 16 and 14-year-old, 2.5 years, and graduated with a Bachelor of Science. Moved out of the mailroom into being a software engineer, where I still currently am, I don't know, 10 years later. I've had several promotions since then and gone up to make over 6 figures. You know, my kids are 26 and 20, no, 25 and 27 right now. They're 26 and 25, but only for till next week. And they are thriving. So it's been phenomenal. And one of the biggest epiphanies for me was that through everything I went through, I learned so much that it would be a disservice to society if I didn't open my mouth and start helping others to go from a place of broken to a place of empowerment. Because from where I was to where I am now is night and day, you know. And if I can do it, certainly anybody can do it. So that's where the mission is now. It's all good.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. I think too, when you walk away from a situation like this, a lot of the times your life is pretty much shattered. And so you have to start all over again. I have many clients, and in my own experience, there are several times in my life where I literally had to rebuild my whole life. Because you leave that life with them, and then you have this other unknown, all of this unknown, like, where am I going to live? You know, what job am I going to have? What am I going to do with my life? How are people going to see me? You know, you worry about all those things, but I think it's an opportunity. Sometimes some things need to end, and sometimes some lives do need to crumble, because they're built on foundations of lies and untruths and everything that's not love, right? So rebuilding your life gives you an opportunity to now do it in a way that matters to you. You're in total control of your own future, your own home, your own goals. And you have a blank slate so that you can reframe this. Instead of seeing it as like, oh my, what am I going to do? You could say, oh my, what am I going to do? Like, I get to do anything with this. The sky's the limit. I can decorate my house however I want it. I can get whatever job I want. I can spend my weekends on the beach reading a book if I feel like it. The sky's the limit for me, and I get to decide for myself what that's going to look like. And then you get to build a life that you really love outside of somebody else dominating and controlling and manipulating you. So see it as an opportunity to make it beautiful. I personally made a garden. I have a safety space in my house. I love candles. I made my bed. My bed, you guys from my friends that I hang out with, you guys know my bed is like my throne, and it actually looks like a throne. It's freaking gorgeous. And I actually, Kelly, you don't know this, I bought myself this super thick, oh yeah, I did tell you, super thick, like cushiony thing and I'm just like, every day I get up and I am grateful that I don't have to walk on eggshells. I don't have to be abused by somebody else. I don't have to cry every day and somebody's not hurting me consistently on purpose. And I get to spend my life helping other people, doing something that matters and making a difference. And I think that's the most beautiful existence. To me, that's success. So anyways, we aren't special people. You can have whatever reality you really want, and you're only getting one life. So make it count. That's my big mission. Make it count. Tomorrow could be your last day on this planet. Do you really want to spend it suffering with someone that doesn't appreciate it? Probably not. So take your power back and spend your life the way you want to spend it. And don't let anyone take that from you. Thank you, ladies, for being here. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you, 10,000 followers. We appreciate you. Bye.